Woo, baby. We are live. The very first, well, not, I guess not the first live Sovryn Tech. I've done at various events. I have done live Sovryn Techs before. But whoo, boy, is this the first one? Yes, it is. Let's see. I'm just going to check and make sure I'm coming through on the best possible sound available. And it looks like it's working. Looks like I'm coming through. So, woo, yeah. This is the first time. So don't have anybody here yet. Granted, I'm well aware that I'm well aware now. I didn't know this when I started, that there was going to be, or that it was going to be the Super Bowl. Like, I don't pay attention in that way at all to what's going on. So, oh, good. I see in the chat, loud and fucking clear. Awesome. All right, that's good. I do have, now this is the other funny trick, is that so I've done this kind of work where I know of other podcasts, other shows that use Hangouts like as their base. Like, this is what they use to, as to where, like, I use SoundCloud, some people use Hangouts to do their entire show. And I've actually been like kind of the sound engineer guy effectively, that would show up for that, or, that would do all of that work. And so this is a really, admittedly, like, this is, and Google's just been fucking it up like nonstop, how exactly Hangouts works. So there's a lot of hats. There's a lot of things when, if someone actually like enters the room to ask a question, and you don't have to, you can actually ask questions in the chat. Just like I've already seen a couple people in the chat there. You can ask there, and then I'll answer them here. That's totally fine too. But like, when people show up, I mean, you have to, like, you got to mute people, you got to make them disappear from the broadcast. And then, I mean, it's a lot of different things you have to do. Usually you really do want, some kind of a producer or sound engineer working with you if you want to do this, if you want to do kind of a Hangouts, quote unquote, right. But myself, I'm doing it all by myself. So all on a 15-inch 1080p screen right here, to where, like, I can see what's happening in the chat. And then of course I'm running everything that's going on beyond that. So anyway, appreciate everybody that has shown up so far. Like I said, I didn't realize that this was going to be the time for the Super Bowl, though I suppose it doesn't start until 6:30. But I mean, come on, you're showing up at people's houses right now, of course, too. I mean, I've been to Super Bowl parties before. Granted, I'm not, I guess there was a time where maybe I was a little into football, but nah, not my sport, not my, not my circus, not my monkeys. Definitely more of a baseball guy, but whatever. Anyway, people can do what they do. They love it. I mean, it definitely, I think like everybody suddenly becomes a football fan, when the Super Bowl comes around, and that's because everybody gets the chance to actually connect, which, hey, good for you. So, I think that's an absolutely wonderful thing. So let's see, we got, I'm going to commit career suicide here, as Rush Limbaugh would say. And I have 6 people watching right now. Not bad, because this is only going out to Sovryn Tech patrons. So, which isn't like a large number of people. I mean, granted, percentage wise, it's pretty good. And for a show that definitely, panders to an anarchist or liberty crowd, honestly, that's not bad. Because I know what other shows that that do like live video and all this stuff, and yeah, they'd probably kill for 6. So anyway, so since I've got people here, oh, woo, there, okay, we got a woo in the live chat. Hell yeah, baby. So, if you actually want to enter, because there was 2 links, just and you don't have to. I could, yeah, fuck sports ball, damn right. So again, we got a live chat here, and I'm just reading it as we go along. If you do want to like actually come on the show, if you want to come on with video, the whole thing, you're welcome to. You don't have to. You can, like I said, you can ask questions right in the chat. There's the 2 links, just to explain this. There was the 2 links in Patreon. One of them was for the Hangout itself, to be able to join the Hangout. The other was just to watch it on YouTube, which is what a lot of people are doing. And that's awesome. It could totally be that way. And that's totally fine. So if you have questions you want to get to there, you can. If not, I'm going to start off. Actually, somebody who said they couldn't make it. And again, I understand, that we'll figure out good times within which to do this sort of thing. Sundays at 6 might not be the best for a lot of people. Just happened to work out for what I could do this week. So, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it's better for people on the weekdays, maybe at like 5 p.m. or something might work better or something like that. I mean, I work from home, so, the schedule could be a little bit different. That's fine. The participation link isn't working. It's behaving as if it's pointing to another stream. Okay. So see what I mean? I deal with this. There's a show that I help engineer, and you might know about this. It's the Tatiana show, who I love Tatiana. She's so wonderful. And every single week that we do her show, I have to, we have to create, we do it. We work with liberty.me for it. And I have to create, a separate link. Like we have to make new links just so everybody can join. And then it matters what web browser they're using. I mean, like a lot of people are getting 403 errors, and Google Hangouts used to have this really cool thing where it would, it would have like what do they call it? A lower third, where along the bottom of the screen, you'd actually see like a name and whatever else there. They're removing all of those features. I mean, really, Google is screwing this up to no end. So let me see if I can actually find the link here, and then we can up here actually, and then maybe people can try joining it. In fact, I wonder if I can just drop it right in the YouTube in the chat here, and if anybody can try that out. Actually, anybody in the chat room there on YouTube, if you want to try entering that would, and see if you can try it out and see if it works. If you come in, I'll probably mute you quick until like I'm ready to, got to have the golden stallion be ready. Let's see, got an email actually just came in, okay, through the contact form. So, hey, you should look at, I'm reading this without reading it first. Imagine that. Who knows? This could say terrible things. Hey, you should field questions from Sovnet during the Hangout. Some people don't have Google accounts and don't want to create them, which I'm sure you understand. No hard feelings if you miss this. Just thought I'd throw the idea out there. That's actually a great idea. And I don't have, let me see if I can, oh, hey, there we go. All right, looks like we got somebody here. I'm going to actually mute this oh, no, he muted himself. Okay, cool. So, yeah, okay, so I will do that from now on, where I will set up from the IRC chat room. I don't have that up right now, though. Actually, I could just go to irc.zog.ninja, and people could actually, like, I can just look in there, and I don't have to be logged in as Lord Sovryn. So let's see. Here we go. Start. And we'll just open that up. And yeah, that's actually a great point. A lot of people don't want to have a Google account, and I totally support that. Obviously, that was a major conversation that we had during episode 211 this week. And oh yeah, no, there's a few people in there. So okay, so I am Sovnet 89851. If you are listening and you happen to be at the chat room at the same time, and because it takes me, like, my password is ridiculous, it's like 40 something characters, so it would be a pain in the ass to type it in right now to prove that I'm Lord Sovryn. But hey, there we go. All right, so we got people there. Now this is going to be the trick, is in the future I'm going to have to set up, like, I have to do a second monitor because I have so many windows open right now, and to be able to like see what everybody's saying. But you go ahead and you can type in questions in the IRC chat room. The chat room is on Freenode. You can go to irc.zog.ninja if you want to do that. That way you don't have to deal with an IRC client if you don't want to. And you can ask questions in there, and I will try to get to them. Again, this is definitely going to be on a limited schedule. Okay, we got 2 people in. Fantastic, and they're both muted. Wow, I knew it. My audience is ridiculously intelligent. So before I get to your questions, I actually want to open up with a question that somebody asked that wasn't able to be in here. Yeah, someone said, oh damn, I thought you were using like a 6 monitor setup. Not right now. I'm planning on a second studio. In fact, the second studio, my plans for it, like, it'll literally have a couch. There'll be like a shotgun mic. I mean, the whole thing, to where people can just like, I can have guests on and we can all just sort of hang out, and, you know, and do this really right and make it look good. And I think I could have all my little, you know, collectibles and Funko Pops and all that shit, you know, have that, have that running, or, you know, have that on display so that people can see that. Okay, let's just take another quick look at it's Subnet. All right, yeah, looking good. So, okay, I'm going to get to this question. Then we've got 2 people lined up in the Hangouts room, and I will get to you. Another interesting little technical thing is that, in fact, I've never seen this before, but there's the Google Chrome. I do have Google Chrome running right now, and I've talked about this recently, about how like a lot of very unique features are being baked into Chrome itself. You know, and it won't work with any other browser. What's interesting is I have the Hangouts extension built into that, and when I logged into this Hangout, it opened up like a separate Hangouts window, as to where when I've done engineering for other shows, to where, you know, to where we're using Hangouts and we're doing the very thing that I'm doing right now, it just does it all in a browser window. So I'm kind of intrigued as to why it would switch to this. I mean, obviously it's Hangouts, so it switched to Hangouts, but I haven't really seen that before. So anyway, okay, I'm going to get into this one question, and then we're gonna get to the people that are here live. So if you can just be patient with me, we'll get to it. And I won't spend a ton of time on this because it's kind of a question about Sovryn Tech itself. It's not exactly like a technical question or a science question, or whatever kind of questions you want to ask. So, and that's the other thing too. Feel free to ask me whatever. You want to talk anarchy, you want to talk philosophy, you want to talk geek stuff, you want to talk movies, baby? We can talk movies. I'm all for it. So, okay, here it is. Let's see. Made a joke about it clashing with my sports ball. That's why he couldn't be here. No, it's not why he couldn't be here. He was kidding. So anyway, let's get to the question. Question for the Stallion. How did you see yourself, or what did you think the show would become in 2017 when the show began 5 years ago? Would you have done things differently? How does that paint your future plans for ZOG or Sovryn Tech? Oh boy. Okay, so like I could spend a whole show talking about that. So I'm going to try and be brief about it. But yeah, I don't know that I ever expected it to reach kind of like the size of the audience that I have right now. I mean, we've got quite a few thousand listeners. I mean, I'm really, really amazed actually at that. And so, yeah, someone said it's growing. Awesome. Yeah, no, it's definitely growing. Like, I mean, I go up by exponential rates seemingly almost every month, which is really exciting for me. So as far, did I see it at this level? Did I see it being this way? I mean, yes and no, and negative and positive. There's things that I kind of expected it to be. And like when I started Sovryn Tech, it was not a privacy oriented show. It wasn't even necessarily a security oriented show. It was more just like, I don't want to say consumer technology, because the show never stopped being pro-consumer. I think that's the most important thing for any kind of content to be. But I definitely had like a different goal, like the point. I mean, like my third episode, I think, was all about security actually. So it wasn't like I wasn't talking security, but I was just wanting to talk like tech culture in general. And that's still kind of what I do. But really the goal became, okay, no, everybody's an activist now, frankly. And I mean, actually in our modern political climate, really everybody's become an activist. I mean, whether they're acting like it necessarily or not, or depending on which side they're on. And so it's definitely changed the direction, kind of like the people that I figured I'd be reaching out to has totally changed. The one thing that hasn't happened that I always expected, or I was really expecting to end up like on This Week in Tech, which I think is actually recording right now. But I really expected to be on This Week in Tech within that 5 years, and that just didn't happen. So the audience I'm reaching isn't what I expected, and granted, the goal of the show shifted, quite a bit. I never expected anything like Patreon to exist, which has really, really opened up a lot of doors. And in fact, I think is actually going to really help the show out quite a bit as far as growth. So maybe that's a question. I think that question, it's very broad, and I don't want to spend all the time, all this time talking on it. But yeah, I mean, I just sort of saw that, maybe I'd get like 5,000 listeners at some point, and people would find it interesting. And then maybe I'd get on This Week in Tech or something, and I'd end up, being like a little more into tech journalism or whatever. But that's not the way that the world ended up working. So I'm actually on a different goal with greater goals, quite frankly. I mean, it's funny too. because I know I keep mentioning This Week in Tech, but it's, it's not like when you get on that suddenly like you get this big pop. I mean, I know lots of people lots of great tech journalists, very legit tech journalists that have been in the business for years that, they're on This Week in Tech all the time. They're on that network all the time. And like, they don't even have the Twitter following that I have, which that's not a boast. I really don't give a shit. But I mean, it's not a guarantee of really of anything, of any kind of pop. The one thing I didn't expect Sovryn Tech to be, and somewhat of what it's become, whether I like it or not, and I'm actually really disappointed by this, is that I feel like I've become very much. I feel like a lot of people come to Sovryn Tech for philosophy. And because they feel like there's other shows that just aren't delivering on that. And that's actually kind of I mean, like, I'm honored in one sense, and the other sense, I'm kind of disappointed because, I mean, yeah, I like injecting philosophy into a tech show, but at its base, it is a tech show. But then, people aren't finding this stuff anywhere else when there's shows that are supposed to be about this, that are supposed to be laying this shit out, straight. Laying out anarchism and, really having first principles, or, being principled in general. And they're just not anymore, or they never were, or what. So that's one thing I really didn't expect, is that people would come to Sovryn Tech. In fact, I remember the first time I really dug into kind of philosophy was, I think it was episode 47, where I went on kind of my first rant ever, on Sovryn Tech. And it was about rights. And I mean, people just, they went nuts over it. I mean, it's one of the most downloaded episodes of all time. I think it was 47. And, and people like emailed me afterwards saying, we don't get this anywhere. And I'm like, well, what the fuck do you mean? Like where are these other shows? Where's the Liberty shows that should be appealing to this crowd? I mean, people want to know about this stuff. So that's definitely one thing I did not expect Sovryn Tech to be. And I don't know how that's affecting things here or there, but anyway, I'm probably going to delve deeper into that question some more, because I think there's some good aspects to get into it. So why don't we get into, let me just check the chat rooms here quick. Ooh, we've got some chat rooms going. Let's see. Also avoiding Google. These are people kind of talking to themselves. Great. Good. I'm glad you're making use of Sovnet. Let's see what's going on in the YouTube chat room. Nothing. Okay. So I am going to get to, let's see. If you want to say your name, who you are, I'll let you. Otherwise, I'll just address you by what comes up with your Google handle here. So, Saggy, I know it's not your name, but if you want to, or let's see, if you want to unmute yourself, if you're ready to go for a question, why don't you go for it?
I'm so ready. I've been ready.
All right,
for years.
Oh, look at this. If you're not seeing the video, this guy. First off, very handsome gentleman, bald head and all. Second off, he's wearing a Think Geek Starfleet hoodie. I have the same one, and I know he knows I have it, but that is so badass. Looking fantastic. I love it.
I get compliments on this all the time. No one's called me Starfleet yet, though.
Yeah, see, that's what I get when I go to the gas station. I go to, I go to a grocery store or whatever, and like now people kind of know me, and they're like, "Hey, there's Starfleet," and I love that. It's so hot.
The person I'm dating refers to me as Captain, though, because of the pips, which is
you put on pips. All
much appreciated.
Nice. I like that. All right. Okay, so if you want to, whatever you want to be called.
You can call me Jay. That's
all right. We'll go with Jay.
Online pretty much calls me. That's how you know me by anyway. So
yeah, exactly. All right, Jay. So go for it. What's your question, man?
I was going to yak about VR a bit, if y'all don't mind me sharing my experiences with both systems.
Please. In both systems, you mean Vive and
the Rift.
And Oculus Rift. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I bought, long story short, just to give everyone a quick summary, if you must have room scale, and you will have that feeling when you get into VR, you will love the room scale, just get a Vive. It doesn't matter if the Rift headset's image quality is kind of better, just get a Vive and save yourself a lot of headache. That's the summary right there.
Right.
But in both of my experiences, the Vive, I think, is the better bet. If anyone's in the same boat as I was, is kind of tossing between the two, because they are kind of a big chunk of change. Plus the video card GTX 1070 for the win. Great card, by the way. Awesome.
So what I'm trying to remember, like, is there anything below the 10 series that works on, or do you know? Like,
yes, I experimented.
Oh, okay.
So I went with an AMD. I forget the name. It was like a 480 or so. The 480, I think it was the RX 480, and it sucked. I hated it. I didn't like it. I am kind of prejudiced against Radeon cards, though. It's just me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm an NVIDIA guy, so. Then I went to a 1060, and that did pretty well. But I wanted to do super sampling, which for those that don't know, super sampling is when you artificially kind of increase the resolution of what you're seeing with software. And it kind of choked on that. So I just said, oh, fuck it. I just got paid $400 and got a GTX 1070.
Yeah,
Best card ever.
Yeah, those cards are not cheap right now.
No, it was a hard pill to swallow, but like I figured I already bought the hardware, with the Vive. I'm like, just go whole hog right in.
Yeah. At that point, right? Like, what's a couple extra $100?
Whatever. Yeah. So it was definitely worth it. But my experience with the Vive when I first, I was really excited about it. I played at my friend's house. I don't know if anyone here has played Raw Data. If you have, raise your digital hand somewhere in some chat room. But Raw Data was the game that sold it for me. So if you are unsure about VR, get your hands on Raw Data and you'll feel badass. Like you'll literally feel badass. Like guns, double pulling up guns.
Like what exactly?
It was great. What was that?
What is the game about?
It's a first-person shooter. It's science fiction. You're shooting robots at some facility you're trying to hack into. So it's all techno-based and whatnot. And there's like 3 classes you can pick from right now. And the one that's my favorite is the bishop, the gun bishop. He's the gun kata, where you just take the guns out and boom, 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 But what really sold it for me is you have to duck behind shit. And if a robot gets up in your face, you got to hit it with the butt of your gun. And
now this is really only possible because the Vive has those room sensors, that you were describing earlier.
Yeah. And it's so it's so much better than the Rift as far as room scale is concerned.
Now, is the room that you're in right now, is that actually where you have those room sensors?
This is the room, yeah. If the camera were more mobile, I would just show you, but I can tell you I have Rift sensors there, and that's where my Vive sensors were.
Okay.
I was sold on the Rift because of the image quality of the headset, and I assumed with my technical ability, I would just make the room scale stuff work. Mm-hmm. But the limitations, I think, in the hardware or the software, whatever is the limiting factor, it just does not track as well. Because when I play Raw Data, I'm having the gun up here, and all of a sudden my hand just goes, like I'm trying to shoot something over there, and I'm like, wait, no, here. And that never happened on the Vive.
Yeah, so now I know that a lot of the new headsets, a lot of them were being shown off at CES, where they are going to use Intel RealSense, and those are going to they won't need the room sensors, but they'll still be able to track you around the room.
Inside out tracking. Yep.
Right. Now, but what's interesting, if you're having glitches with, dedicated sensors set up around a room, I'm going to be curious to see just how well RealSense works, when it's built into just a headset.
I will be experimenting as soon as I can get my hands on some, because I'm definitely sold on the concept of VR. Even just and the one thing that's really cool about the Vive is you can customize the Steam VR software. Tons of backgrounds you can buy. You can skin the sensors as they appear in VR. Mm-hmm. And one of the backgrounds that you're placed in when you first start to bring up your library of games is the gate room from Stargate. And it's so relaxing in there. I don't know what it is. It's just,
I can imagine. I even on YouTube, I'll play. They have those 8-hour where it's just a background sound of a starship or something. Yeah, they have one where it's just the Stargate just playing endlessly with that little liquid sound.
In there. I wish if we lived closer, I'd be like, dude, come over, just sit in the game room for a minute and just see what's going on. Yeah, I mean, I like really exhilarating games like Raw Data, Hollow Point are 2 big ones. Hollow Point's an archery game where there's shit coming at you, and when you hit it with an arrow, the boxes explode and things come at your face. You gotta dodge it and shit. So it's a good workout. 10 minutes of that, and you're heart pumping.
Yeah. That's interesting, because that's something that I don't think it's talked about much, is that if you have room tracking or just body tracking in general with RealSense or Vive or whatever, that that this could really become like a full-on workout. I mean,
It
way
is.
better than, I mean, the Wii kind of tried to do that with like Wii Fit, where it could use
was
the
a fair
remote
effort.
balance board.
The Wii
Yeah, it
was
was a
fair
try.
effort.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick, there's a question in the chat room here for actually that would end up being for you, Jay, and it's, what about the touch controls for Oculus? I heard they are good. I have tried Vive and it was awesome. Trials on Tatooine where you have a lightsaber, dream come true. So yeah,
it is definitely a dream come true.
Right. Okay, so you've done Trials on Tatooine.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh man,
when you hit the button on the because the I'll get to the touch controllers because they are vastly superior in my opinion to the Vive.
Then the Vives? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's talk about that. Sure.
The Vive controllers are basically a wand, with like a little puck at the end of it that's kind of arced like that. So what's the tracking sensors on it? And it works fairly well for things like sword play and, if you're going to do archery or something like that. But it has grip buttons on the side of it. And raw data, for example, has an option where you can like draw your gun, let go, and then it just stays in your hand. But I like to keep shit real as possible. It's VR. That's what it's for. So you can hold the grips, and then if you let go, the gun drops in VR. So when I first was playing with the Vive wands with that option, I'm constantly dropping my fucking gun, getting inundated by robots. So that was a problem. But on the touch controllers for the Rift, it's your hand it just fits your hand really well, and the grip is like a trigger for your middle finger, what I call your fuck you finger, and you can hold that thing for over an hour. My hand didn't get fatigued at all. I didn't drop the gun once, except when I got excited with whacking some guy in the face with my gun. But it was
all right. So that's interesting. But then like where, I guess, what makes is it just the room tracking? What makes the Vive that much better? Because it sounds like that the Oculus Rift has kind of the better controls.
It does.
Even though I think, I get this, just my own prediction is that like those touch controls in the very near future, are going to kind of become meaningless. Like I just think that
practically,
they already are. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, so what puts the Vive over the top?
The Vive is more, how would I put this? Well, I'll give you a recent example that annoys me with the Rift to help you identify what's good on the Vive. Sure. The Rift's development, for example, it wasn't designed for room scale or much beyond like face to face or turning this. It wasn't designed for more beyond that. So the setup I have right now is experimental, and it works until shit starts getting crazy.
Right.
Yeah, and it just can't handle it. Whereas the Vive, everything is in the box that you need. Even the mounts for the wall to put the sensors on the wall, everything is in one box. And it takes some finagling to get the sensor set up just right. But once it's done, it's done. And you don't have to screw with them. And once I had it set up, I could trust it to work every time I turned it on. Whereas the Rift, I'm like, is it going to be one of those fucking days where I'm going to lose the level because you're not tracking right? Like a high point for the Vive, I could just play for 30, 60 minutes and nothing would happen. But after 10 minutes on the Rift or even less than that, it starts, I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it sounds like the big difference is that Oculus is a bit more limited utility, at least right now.
Correct. Like for seated down gaming, like, there's a space sim games that are good. The names of the two that I played a lot just escape me right now.
Sure.
Elite Dangerous is a good one.
It's a great game. Even outside of VR, it's great.
Yeah, and all the audio packs you can get for it. But in VR, Space Sims in VR is great, and that you just have to make that a seated experience. I tried playing standing, and no, just sit down. Believe me, just sit down.
Right. All right, go ahead. Second game. Yep.
The Rift's headset, I don't know what they're doing, but the clarity of it is much better. And I did a lot of my testing and like static images, like the gate room and Stargate and whatnot. You could see like jagged edges on the gate itself, whereas the Rift headset, it was clear versus the Vive's kind of jaggedy or whatever.
That's interesting. Okay.
And the Rift setup software wise is cool. Like I see where they're like, if the software is just kind of there, and when you put the headset on, there's a sensor in the headset that calls up the software when it knows it's on your face automatically. So it dumps you right into Oculus Home. The user experience is slick, but from a technological standpoint, it takes more fiddling than I am even comfortable doing. Like after having the Vive as an experience, I'm like, dude, I just want to put the VR out of the box on the wall and fucking play it. I don't want to pay $80 for a third sensor that may or may not improve my experience. And and all this other shit. And it's really disappointing because those touch controllers, they really are not hype. They are better. They are
They
much
feel
better.
that good. Yeah.
Great to me. Yeah. And I can even, if you want to see them real time.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at them. Yeah, I'll tell you, while he's grabbing those, and we'll get to other questions here in just a second. But I think something that tech companies do today is they're really trying very hard I think a lot of the tech giants anyway, which of course Oculus is part of Facebook. I think they don't want any third party business to latch on around them. And I think something that they're really pushing forward with VR, with trying to not have like a lot of this setup, or even like room setup, even with like the room sensors, with the Vive or something. Like, I think a lot of these companies really want to get past that fast, because otherwise what's going to happen is there's going to be an installation service, like an installation company that's going to crop up. That's third party. It's like, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to make your room into the perfect VR room. That might still happen anyway, but I think a lot of these companies, I think a lot of companies are pushing hard to where, okay, no, you don't need to do that at all, and people just buy the product from us and then they're done. So you got the controls there, Jay?
Yep. See, that's what it looks like when it's just hanging there off your wrist and it's really secure.
Okay.
Normally I just like flip it up and grab it, and it just like your hand just kind of molds around it. It's really cool, and it just rests there. And when you're in game, if you lift your fingers off the triggers and whatnot, they're capacitive sensors, so that your game hand responds, like you can point and crap like that. And there's the grip trigger I was telling you about. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there.
Oh yeah. Raise your hand up just a little bit. Yeah.
That's the trigger that makes a world of difference if you're like gripping stuff. It's so much. And I wish like something like this existed for the Vive. And I saw the prototypes of the next Vive controllers. I'm like, damn, that's even better. So, so I'm hoping. The development in VR community seems real fucking rapid. Like, it's already gone wireless. I mean, it's an expensive module, but like I'm pretty convinced this time next year we're going to see way more options than not way more, but at least one or two other viable options against the Rift and the Vive. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you want to go VR, it's Rift or the Vive, because the Samsung Gear VR is like, it's plebeian nonsense.
It's not enough. No, yeah, I understand that, and I think you're right. I think we are going to see. I know a lot of commentators are saying it's flash in the pan. I really don't think so at all.
No, I don't. I believe that. I was thoroughly convinced this is like Wii motion controller, and it's boring. But when I got in my friend's VR room and I saw this setup, I'm like, holy shit! All right, this looks legit. And when he put me in game, he's like, now, do you want to go easy or want to go hard? I'm like, hard. And he dumped me into raw data without any training. And I'm like, I was sold. I was immediately sold. I was sold. And you especially, I can just see you freaking the fuck out if you get a Star Wars game, the lightsaber coming on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I don't doubt it. And that Starship simulator, or the Star Trek Starship Simulator, like, I know once I get my hands on that, I'm just gonna be like, fuck you, reality. I'll see you later.
I'm gonna stick around with the Rift for a while longer before I decide which one to keep and sell. It's just for that, because I know that's coming out, I think, in like March or what have you. Yeah. And if anyone wants to the demo a game like for VR, try Space Pirate Trainer. Also, that one will really get you pumped up.
Nice. All right, Jay, is there any last bit you wanted out, or we'll get to some other questions here?
Nope, I'm good for now.
Fantastic. All right, Jay, thanks so much. That was great, actually. I really hands-on stuff. I love it. So, all right. Yeah, Jay, thank you so much. Yep, he's muted out. Fantastic. Look, you guys got this. This is great. So, all right, let's go to let's see, we got two others in right now. Let's go to Jacob. Jacob, I think you were the next in line here. And if you want to unmute yourself, if you're ready, and oh man, video and all, there's the man. So I met this guy. I can tell you this. I met this guy at the Michigan Peace and Liberty Fest. How many years ago was that, Jacob? Do you remember?
That would have been in 2013, I believe.
Damn, that's like 3-4 years ago. Holy shit. All right. Well, anyway, Jacob, man, good to have you on. Looking great. What do you got on your mind?
Not a lot. I do want to just say right out front that I appreciate a lot of the focus on the philosophy.
Sure.
I first heard about Sterner and Onfray on Sovryn Tech, and I've got a lot out of both of them. But even further, the ethics and philosophy is integral to the future. and future of technology, with
Yeah, no,
transhumanism, AI, the new
yeah, I think you're
economic
right.
possibilities.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I should have said something along those lines, and I appreciate that, Jacob. I really do, because I've noticed that, like, I listen to tons of tech shows, not just on the Twit network. I mean, just a ton of them, and all of them now are finding it almost impossible to avoid getting into, whether they realize it or not, very serious ethical conversations. Like, I mean, they're just, it's unavoidable because tech is like I mean, if you just talk about Gmail, you're ending up into just some huge realms based on human liberties. And again, and I'm not saying these people should even, try talking about it, but they end up doing it anyway, because it's just, it like you said, it's so integral, it's so part of it. Yeah, I think you're right about that. So maybe that, what Sovryn Tech turned into ended up being, kind of unavoidable. Like that's just how it would end up. So anyway, yeah, go ahead, Jacob, with more. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember you being anti-privacy, and
yeah, you're here from the beginning.
a big Google fanboy before the Snowden leaks came out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's might have been around the time when the show started to take a turn and focus more heavily on those issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too, just real quick. I mean, like with the Google thing, like at the time, Google was the company that was innovating. They were coming up with like just great shit. And that's another thing now people are realizing is that, no, Google's kind of, stayed, and I mean, they're not really like coming out with new stuff all the time. So even the excitement that I would have had, whether the Snowden revelations happen or not, I probably would no longer be as excited about Google as, say, I was at the time, because they're not coming out with anything, that's really that interesting, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So what kind of innovation do you see right now? I mean, in the consumer tech space, I don't see a whole lot. I mean, I like, Jay was talking about the new VR systems, and I think that has a lot of potential. But other than that, what do you see, on the near horizon?
Sure. Yeah. This is an interesting thing, and this is kind of a perspective that I'm starting to wrestle with a little bit. And that is that, like, in one sense, like, innovation is great. Innovation is great when it, say, replaces middlemen, or it gets rid of, obviously, government. That's great. In the other sense, like, is innovation in and of itself like this great end game to have? And I'm not laying out whether that's true or not. I'm just, or what the answer is to that question. I'm just saying that this is something I've really been chewing on lately. Is like, even really the prospect of like disruption and innovation and all of this. But as it stands right now, I still want innovation, that does make, government meaningless, along with other, violent forces in the world. And is what I see on the horizon. VR is definitely the easy kind of big one to look at. The other one that and I've talked about this over the years, the other one that I see happening is I really do think that going into outer space, like, I mean, and maybe that's kind of too big of an answer from what you're looking for. But I think, and this has been predicted since, like, the 50s, so I could easily be wrong, but I really think we're at the point where, yeah, starting to actually colonize like other parts of the solar system and things like this, like that's going to, my guess is in like the next 10 years, that's going to be like such an exponential new thing that nobody will see creeping up. That's going to happen. And part of the reason I think that is that there's a lot of big names out there, not people that I always agree with, but they are like effectively saying this is the direction we really have to go. And it's almost like they're trying to prime people for it. And I'm talking names like Peter Thiel, obviously Elon Musk, and even a lot of authors, some other people that are pushing this. I'm not saying like tech journalists or anything, but I mean, there seems to be way too much of an underlying, almost grassroots push to get up there, that I think that might be the next place to go. I mean, I really don't think there's anywhere further to go necessarily in software. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think so. Definitely, so a lot of the directions I'm thinking of are actually really big stuff, because I think a lot of the little stuff's already been, it's done. Like they figured it out. Everybody's copying each other. And that's something else I have to wrestle with too, is that, in the same vein, like it's kind of okay that everybody's copying each other. Like I like to insult people for copying, but at the same time, like that's sort of how things get done. I mean, that's okay. Like if everybody copies best practices, fucking great, do it. So anyway, do you have more on that, Jacob, or thoughts? What do you think?
Oh, well, I could say The Expanse has got me hyped for exploring the solar system.
Yeah, that's the other. Yeah, boy, season 2 just started. Man, it's best show on television. It really is.
Yeah,
and
definitely agree on that.
It's interesting that is out right now as well, because that's just more of that groundswell that I was talking about, where it seems like the idea of getting to other parts, at least of our solar system, is really where people are looking. So yeah, keep going.
So would you say you're still not too sold on the promises of AI?
Yeah,
like artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, so I think this is something, and I have to actually, I can't take credit for this line of thinking. In fact, you and I, Jacob, we interact on social media and all that, so I know you know about it. But there's that great episode of Triangulation where I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that they had on. He wrote a great book called Humans Need Not Apply.
Yeah, you're talking about Jerry Kaplan.
Yeah, Jerry Kaplan, exactly. Yes. And I thought his points that he made were so spot on. And in his book, Humans Need Not Apply, like he goes into much more depth about this, but that like people just don't understand what AI is that Skynet's really never going to happen. What AI is really allowing for is automation, but automation applied to a broader spectrum of categories and markets, than it is already. And so AI is, kind of the term machine learning and all this stuff. I mean, there's going to be some innovation in that, but it's not like the technology is going to take some kind of exponential leap. What's more happening is just that automation is getting applied to more and more, more and more categories, than we would think that they would be there. I mean, for example, like the technology to automate every tractor trailer, every Mack truck or whatever, going around doing their deliveries is well in here. I mean, like, and it probably works really freaking well, especially for that, because you have very set routes and, there's not a whole lot of thinking on the fly involved. And so, while that may look like innovation, really it's technology from other places that's just getting spread out, kind of horizontally to all these other areas. So yeah, so AI, I've over the years I've been like, okay, is AI going to get to the point where it can think like a human? As to where now I'm totally on the other end, where it's like, no, it'll never be a human. It's just something that's going to get applied to a bunch of different products, services, whatever, that suddenly it'll be it'll automate all the stuff that we never thought about automating before. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh yeah. On a similar note, well, maybe not so similar, but I was just thinking about you've spoken of life extension technology before.
Sure.
What about that? Where do you think that's at?
Yeah, this is something where, so I'm a huge fan of that. There have been developments in that. Like I was particularly interested in the Greenland shark, which is the shark that can live for like 400 or 500 years. I mean, it's just crazy how long it can live. There's been a lot of other little things. Like recently there was a study on, was it the Marshall brothers, the astronauts, Ed and Jim, or maybe it's not Marshall. I think I'm thinking of somebody else, but I know I actually talked about it. We talked about it on this week's Sex and Science Hour, where like the telomeres,
Oh yeah, the Kelly, wasn't it? The Kelly.
That's it. Ed Kelly. I think that's it. Anyway, or whatever their names are. Yeah. So they're twins, and they, like, he spent like the past year or whatever. He's spent the longest amount of time on the International Space Station, and he there were aspects of what was happening to him that would lend itself to life extension. Now, I mean, I'm reading into it, and you're not 100% certain that that's what was going on, but that. So my point being is that there's some interesting things, some interesting evidence that has come out that maybe there's paths to do this, but at the same time, I really feel like what actually the experiments that have to be done to really get to genuine life extension technology, unfortunately, like it has to be in my opinion, it has to be in an environment where there is no regulation. Now, I still want there to be ethics there, but just, you got to get rid of regulation. And I think everybody kind of knows that. I think that's why Larry Page at Google I/O 2013, when he said there needs to be places where the laws don't apply. I think that's exactly what he was talking about, because not long after, he announced Calico, which is their life extension division at AlphaGoog. Not that I trust them, but I think they're on the same path. So it's something that I think can be done. I think there's interesting evidence, new evidence that has come out that could lend towards it. But things like cryonics, which is the main area that I'm intrigued by life extension, it's just under such regulatory fire that a lot of it can't get off the ground. So, but it can if we get rid of some of those regulations. You got more?
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely with you on those regulations. That's going to stall a lot of things. But specifically, Aubrey de Grey has mentioned that he believes the first human who will live to 1,000 years has already been born.
Right.
What do you think of that statement?
Yeah, I think he's right. I actually think he's right. Because, at the same time, while we're talking about innovation, I mean, a lot of the innovations that have already happened do allow for people to really get away from government in general, I think, and to really create areas where, kind of these experiments that I say need to happen. I think they can happen. I mean, I don't know that they've started. Maybe they've already started and we just don't know. I mean, that's actually kind of how it should be done, is we, in some ways we shouldn't know that it's happening. That way they can actually do it, without government coming down on them, or really without a bunch of conservatives coming down on them saying, you're playing God, and it's like, yeah, of course I'm human. I am God. But, so yeah, I agree with Aubrey on that. I think that has happened. Now, an unfortunate thing, and this might be somewhat privileged information, so I'm glad this is only going to be on Patreon right now. Like those foundations that are working on life extension technology, they are kind of on hard financial times. I'm not going to reveal how I know that, but let's just say, that's kind of insider information. So I'm a little worried as far as that goes. And that's why I'm saying, like, the environment without regulation has to come into play. That way people are willing to put the money down, because the money they're putting down now is just taking too long to get to the point that they need to. So what else you got, Jacob? Anything, or we'll go on to another question?
Well, I'll let someone else hop on here. I just
Sure.
want to ask one final question.
Yep.
When are we going to see Hypercronius 2?
Oh boy, I wonder if the next person was going to ask that. Oh man. So all I can say is soon. I don't want to give a hard date, because I am such a big believer in what they call gentlemen's agreements, golden handshakes, where you're a person of your word. And oh yeah, I mean, I want to say it's definitely coming out this year. I mean, it's that far along to where I don't see why it couldn't. But I did switch engines like mid last year, and that changed things up. Actually, thanks to a Sovryn Tech listener, I changed up engines. So let's just say soon. We'll put it that way. So
all right, I'll put Stu in my calendar.
All right. All right. Thanks, Jacob. That was great stuff.
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah. Good talking to you. So, all right, let's see who do we got next here. Got Jess. Jess, if you're ready, if you want to unmute yourself, and it's up, video's optional. It's up to you. And you can come on whenever you're set. So, and we're about, let's see, it's like 6:40, 6:48. So, we'll go at least another 20 minutes or so. Let's check on the chat room here, and we'll look actually in zog.ninja, and looks like people are just kind of talking to each other, which is great. Or maybe there's a question. Oh, no, I think that's all between each other. Nothing wrong with that. So yeah, Jess, whenever you're ready, you might be away from your computer. Feel free to come right on, or if you're just listening, that's fine too. Let's see. Oh, I don't have a mic, and I have a puppy on my lap, so I'm here to listen. Okay, so you're just hanging out. That's fine, no problem. So let's see. What other questions do we got here? We have anything in the chat room? Please soon. Not sure what exactly please soon is referencing in the chat room, but that's okay. Got people talking about, do you prefer Telegram or Signal? Of course, on my end, I recommend Signal. So let's see. Yeah, well, anyway, good chatting going on around this. Maybe let's see. Want to chat about lucid dreaming for a tick, since it was on a recent Sovtech ep. Yeah, sure. Jay, you can come back on, and yeah, we could talk a little bit up about lucid dreaming. That's fine with me. Because I think that, yeah, there he is. All right, man.
All right. So in the episode, you said you were kind of on the fence and maybe leaning towards yes, it's a thing versus no.
This is an episode 211. Yep.
Yes. Yep. I back in my early mid 20s, I was very much into lucid dreaming, and I went through a somewhat frustrating 8 months period of almost daily training myself to do it. And what I began to experience, in addition to the lucid dreaming, was the stereotypical, but not quite stereotypical, but the stereotypical like out of body experiences.
Okay.
And I began to see that it was at the time I was like thoroughly convinced that it was like evidence for the consciousness is prime versus epiphenomena of the brain theory or hypothesis. And I'm not so convinced of that anymore, but definitely is worth the effort is if one is inclined to do it, because the experiences you can have in there when you have trained yourself to gain or sustain your consciousness as you're drifting off just to sleep, or trigger yourself into consciousness and in a dream that's already taking place, it's just fantastic. Like it's nothing I've ever experienced before in my life.
Yeah. I can really see, I mean, we're effectively talking about creating like a holodeck in your brain. And
it's great.
Yeah. And when you think about it that way, like you instantly see the benefits. Like what the video or the product that we talked about, or that I talked about, was the iBand Plus, and they were selling it that way. Like, look, you can wake up refreshed. You're going to feel great because, you just had this like almost amazing night. And I really appreciate that. Like, I think that's really cool if that can happen. I mean, for me personally, and maybe this is kind of coloring my bias a bit, but for me personally, I like when I remember my dreams, and we're just, we're kind of just talking our dreams here. So, yeah. But when I remember my dreams, like I wake up and I am not refreshed, and it doesn't matter if it's a good or a bad one. Like I wake up and I feel like I was still awake. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's just me.
Like if you have a night where you remember nothing, like you're dead asleep, and then you wake up, you're refreshed. But if you remember your dreams, you're not refreshed.
Yeah, I wake up and I feel like I didn't sleep, and I actually I kind of hate it. Now, I mean, I recognize the importance of dreams. Like, I mean, dreams are a thing. Yeah. But yeah, I can't say. Now, maybe if I'm completely controlling the dream, that might be all right. Like I remember,
I could think of something to help you overcome that, because man, is it fun. It's stupid fun.
Yeah.
It's scary as shit though sometimes too, because like I had some friends that were like all afraid to do it because of how disorienting it is.
Sure.
One of my goals was to train myself to lay down in the middle of the fucking afternoon where I can never sleep anyway, go to sleep, ride the hypnagogic wave. Do you know what I mean when I say that? The state that you're in between sleeping and awake, they call it the hypnagogic state. Right. Kind of ride that into like your mind is awake, but your body falls asleep. It's a weird sensation. And my goal was to kind of fly, up to the moon or whatever. And I accomplished that one night. And I remember feeling scared as shit, because even though I knew it was a dream, I still think there is, a quote unquote tether, if you will, to the body's mechanisms for protection. And it's like, we're way up in the air flying to this big glowing thing. Yeah, we're not going to have any of that. So what's interesting is when you feel that sort of raw vestigial fear, you snap right back into like a dream state, or your consciousness will shift back into at your body. So it's same thing if you have to pee. If you're having a dream and all of a sudden you have to pee, you're like, nope, fun time's over. It's time to pee. You have zero control over that. Like you can do whatever you want, but whenever your biology asserts itself, all control is gone.
Yeah,
fascinating experience.
Yeah. Well, someone in the chat room just said they also feel like crap when they remember their dreams, like they didn't sleep well. So I guess I'm not the only one, but man, I love what you're describing. Like I'm all for it. And I remember and I talked about this a little bit in last week's episode. I mean, I was saying like, I love those dreams. Admittedly, I love the dreams, whether I wake up groggy or whatever. I love the dreams where I'm flying, like what you're describing. I mean, I think that's phenomenal, and I'm glad I had those. But, even those don't happen too often, unfortunately. But then I guess that's why I need to get into lucid dreaming. So,
I mean, it's definitely, it takes a certain type of mindset to like just sit there and like practice and practice and practice. Because it can be frustrating, especially because it's very non-physical. So you're like, what are the gains here? Am I making this shit up? But you do learn that like, what the difference between a dream is. A dream is just basically almost like you're passive. You're not really there. You're watching it, but you're not participating. Your consciousness is there. You aren't self-aware. The more self-aware you become, the more control you have. And in my experience, the most self-aware I became is when I was able to like, when you start seeing yourself like laying in bed, or you start interacting with the environment around you, like going through walls and shit like that. But you don't actually know if you're doing that. It could just be all here, but it doesn't matter because it feels real.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the big points, I was bringing up, is that it's amazing how much we just accept that, no, this is what's going down. This is what's happening, like no matter how crazy it is. I'll tell you something, kind of a weird theory, because I've gotten so much response about this lucid dreaming thing. I mean, and you even wanted to talk about it, here on this live show. I'm kind of, so this is, I apply this in a lot of different areas. Of course, Sovryn Tech listeners know I'm a, bit of a historian. And I wonder if there's a lot of things, and this is pure speculation. Like I have zero evidence for this, but I know a lot of people had, and it came up the thought came up while it was during Sex and Science Hour, and there was a story that we were reading about sex magic, and obviously that I mean, I just see the word sex and I'm just all, all flutter. Yeah. And so, but in that one of the things they talk about doing is like concentrating on these, magic sigils. Like sigils are just symbols. That's really all that is. Yeah. And like, a part of me was a little wondering is that, okay, are these sigils like somehow, are they some kind of like, oh boy, the things you get nervous that you want to say, but
we don't care. We won't judge you.
No, right. Well, all the crazy shit I've said over the years, I guess not. So I guess people don't care, but yeah. So like, I kind of wonder if those patterns aren't some kind of like mental primer that people just, whether they realized it consciously or unconsciously or whatever, that led them to where, say, when they dream, or when they're, in that in-between state, like you're talking about, that it set up their brain to do certain things. And then and that's why they would get into this whole, notion of, I will concentrate on this symbol. I mean, symbols are, I love the old Confucius saying, symbols rule the world, not men or laws. And I think there's a lot to symbology, even just in, I mean, when you think of, and I bring up this example a lot because it's the easiest one to prove. When you think of the fact that, humans have evolved to like have an aversion to snakes and like spiders. Now, it's very easy to understand why there's an aversion, because they move so differently than humans. I mean, like mammals move much like humans. I mean, fish, yeah, you get it. There's water. It's a whole different, kind of geography. But like snakes, I mean, they move in such a wacky way. It's like, oh, that can't be right. Like something's wrong here.
Something ain't right there, man.
Yeah, something's not right. And so I could see where the human brain would evolve over time to where like, okay, I need to watch out for that. And of course, there's the poisonous aspects and all this, sure. But point being is that there are certain shapes, certain things that affect the human brain in a certain way. And so I kind of wonder, and I've been doing some passive research in the matter, as to whether or not that has like this concept of sigils, if that has some kind of effect. Like it's almost like, it's like reading a book.
Or playing a video game too late at night, right before you go to bed, and the images are burned into your brain, and you have dreams about it.
Yeah, like it's some kind of mental primer. Like that's just something. They're like, I could get into all kind of absolutely wild stories.
Me too. I love talking about this shit. It's fun.
Yeah,
because it pulls your head out of like the quote unquote mundane world, and you get to speculate about shit you just can't possibly know about. Like, is this the essential? Is it a mental primer, or is it tapping into some external forces we just don't understand or even are aware of? Like, there's no way to verify either of those. You're like, wow, but something's happening. What's happening?
Yeah. I mean, and another wild theory, and I want to mention a couple things that people are mentioning in chat. Another wild theory is that, and I think we're heading in this direction, talking about how you were talking about VR earlier, as well as augmented reality. Like I kind of wonder, when you look at like a lot of, when you read certain like really ancient texts, like Book of the Dead kind of stuff, out of Egypt, or even, like some of the texts you'd find out of Uruk and things like this, they're like the hand motions and like some of like these spells effectively that people would do, or rituals.
Dragon Ball Z for the win, right there.
Yeah, right.
Spells.
Yeah, I mean, these things that they would do, like, it's so intricate that it's kind of hard to believe that they weren't doing something. And so sometimes I wonder, of course, I toy often with the idea that humans may have been, like, say, before the Toba supervolcano, which is about 70,000 years ago, that humans may have been a lot more, like there may have been a very advanced civilization. And what if they were using AR and like all these hand motions were somehow, like that was actually just like typing on a keyboard and it created a command, and that just got passed down over time. Just they didn't have the technology anymore, to do this sort of thing. And that might be where some of these magic sigils come from. It might be that as well. I mean, like there's so many, there's a lot of possibilities, and I think it's fun to think about, like you say, kind of outside of the box.
Yeah.
I just want to read a little bit in the chat here. Let's see. Is that why you were asking about magic symbols on social media? Partly. So yeah, I did actually. I was asking people. I was like, I got to have some witches in my feeds somewhere, and that could tell me about magic sigils. The main reason, part of it was asking about this with in reference to the lucid dreaming. The other part of it is that I was like, well, what the fuck? Like I just wanted to experiment with.
That's why I did it.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I mean, I wanted to experiment, like, even, with this whole like concept of sex magic, because that's where the magic sigils came from, or like that's where they came across my radar anyway. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'm just curious, like what exactly does this look like, and let's just do it for the giggles and have fun. Now, I mean, I'm an atheist, all the way tried and true, but yeah, just for the shits. Let's see I'm going to try some magic. I like snakes. That's so that's also in the chat, and then somebody saying they're really digging this conversation. So yeah, thank you for that. Boy, yeah, I mean this kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, you go from lucid dreaming, and next thing you know, we're talking about ancient society. How about
sigils and hand motions? I tell you what, the complex series of hand motions is far more endearing than staring at a brick of sensors and getting computer neck.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
90 years old.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, even though at the same time, like I really like having something like hard that I can, or something physical, I should say, that that actually makes something happen.
I want to make a quick point about the VR, what you said, and we were talking about lucid dreaming. It and I wouldn't have been able to make this connection had I not had the experiences of lucid dreaming I did.
Sure.
When you play certain games, specifically games that seem to require some semblance of concentration beyond blasting robot faces and dodging arrows and shit, like Budget Cuts is a good example, where you have to figure out how to get beyond the building's defenses. I don't know how to explain this, but your mind forgets, even if for the briefest moment, that it's not real. So there have been several occasions where I went to lean against this wall so the robot was guarding the corridor wouldn't see me, so I could look around. I almost fell on my face every time. My mind really believed that fucking wall was going to be there. And when I fell right through, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So even at this infancy of developmental stage, the mind it'll believe it. It's fascinating. So I think we're 5 years away from near full immersion. I believe it's if the pace it's going.
Yeah, I think that's a fair prediction. You raise an interesting point. I mean, I guess I feel like a lot of people, share a similar experience, and in fact, it's even in VR realms, shall we say, or games that are purposely not. They're not photorealistic. Like they're not paying fidelity to reality in any way by design. But people still end up getting lost, and they still feel all these things. I mean, it really speaks to just how much, and boy, I mean, yeah, I could go all kinds of directions with this, but it does speak to just how much our senses are a part of, how to put this. It seems like it's not all just like thought, like, boy, this is kind of new stuff, but I'm kind of having a hard time, articulating it. But I think when we ignore just I mean, because I see, but that's all kind of perception. That's all in the brain. Yeah, scratch it. I'm not going to go down that road.
Okay.
Forget it.
We can tell you were struggling with it real time. You're like, what's happening? Where should I go with this?
Yeah. Oh, the thoughts that run through my head.
I have learned that as much as I trust my senses, my physical senses, my five senses, I appreciate how easily they can be duped. And how much data I think my brain may automatically be filtering out or including that is or isn't there. I mean, it's freaky. It's kind of like the optical illusions you can do, the statistic you hear about how the optics work in your mind versus your eyes, how like some percentage of the data never even reaches. I forget I'm sure Stephanie would know off the top of her head if she were here.
Yeah.
But like what you see is not exactly what's there. It's just so like, if that's true, then what the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. So, all right. Let's see. Do we have anybody else? Let me just check for any other questions. So we've been going about an hour. Well, Jay, actually, I think I'm going to start wrapping up a bit here. Sure. And but the lucid dreaming thing. I mean, that's going to be it's a fascinating conversation. I mean, like dreams in general, it's just a huge conversation, and it's one of those conversations that can go on like seemingly forever because it's so much subjective experience. I mean, it's subjective that they occur, but it's subjective of what each person takes in about it. So anyway, Jay, thanks so much. That was great.
And a passing comment about the lucid stuff. It was a learned skill. So when I stopped practicing it, I could try for hours and days before I have a lucid dream. Now I'm definitely out of practice, and you just don't jump back into it. It is a learned skill, and if you don't practice it, it's gone.
All right.
Not quite riding like a bike.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is something I think that's going to come up again in Sovryn Tech at some point. I mean, because like I said, I got a ton of email about it, and I read some of them on the show. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. So, all right. Yeah. I love the Starfleet hoodie. That's perfect. Oh man. So anyway, we're about an hour in. If anyone wants to ask any questions, maybe I'll try and field one more. If anyone wants to ask any questions in the various chat rooms, feel free to do so. I see one, real superpowers. If that, like, what do I think about real superpowers? Do I see those kind of happening? If that's kind of the question on that. This is one of those tough ones where, we get, as far as real superpowers in life, genetically engineering people to have like kind of these incredible abilities. The thing is that while the individual is the thing that matters, and an individual could certainly, if they figured out how to give themselves superpowers, they're certainly within their rights, quote unquote, to do so. I feel like, society doesn't necessarily work that way. Like society works with, I hate to borrow this adage because it's not entirely accurate, but I'll run with it. Just kind of like the invisible hand, Adam Smith's invisible hand, that like these things, it's the spontaneous order. That's totally accurate to say. And in that, though, you have so many different things. Like hearing is always the best one to bring up. It's like, if you had super hearing, with all the electronic devices in the modern home, you'd go nuts. You might not even be able to sleep. So many things would have to change for there to be like a real, change in society and civilization, for there to be like legitimate superpowers and all this stuff. And I got another question here. I'll get to that. It's a huge concept, just like giving people the ability to fly. Like, I mean, it literally changes everything. Like it just changes it. The entirety of the human condition, like would absolutely change. Especially now, civilization would have to change. So many things would have to change. So I'm for it. I'm not against having them. But that's definitely something where when it happens, like, I mean, it's really going to change the world. I'm kind of reminded of like in Star Trek, where Khan says, and not that I support, kind of, well, this gets into the conversation of eugenics, but I remember that Khan said in Space Seed, if you give man like a better tool, he'll increase his productivity tenfold. But if you improve man, you increase it 1,000-fold. And that's the thing. When you increase human ability 1,000-fold, instantaneously. The world's not built for that. And again, the world's built for the average. So yeah, that has the potential to definitely go into some scary places, also some exciting places, but it's there. So, okay, let's see. I have two more questions I'm going to get to, one from the YouTube chat room, the other from actually the Hangouts chat room. So I'll go to the YouTube chat room first. What about tantric sex? Yeah. Woo. This is, what about it, baby? Well, it's something that I'll say I'm kind of exploring and always sort of been intrigued by. I mean, that's an aspect. It is my understanding of it. It's really an aspect of yoga. Like, I mean, I think it's interesting, what Sting does and all that. I mean, having that reputation is phenomenal, where, you can stoop for, I don't know, 15 hours or something like that. I've never really been able to go much past 6 myself, but, or at least in, one go, but, yeah, I'm intrigued by this, and it's something like, me growing up in America in the 90s, like that's when I was a teenager, yoga was a thing, and in fact, it was becoming a very popular thing. And there's even guys that did it, like Rodney Yee, that were a really big deal. In fact, Rodney Yee, I think, is, kind of a cool guy. I don't know him personally or anything, but it was definitely seen as kind of a female thing, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't so much seen as a male thing. So it's not like an area that I spent a lot of time, kind of looking into. But now my opinion on that has totally changed. I do yoga with Stephanie, here and there. And I mean, I work out, pretty much every day. Yoga is usually not a part of it. Yeah, but that could certainly, certainly change. And tantric sex, well, hey, rock and roll. I'll get back to you on that, and I'll let you know. Okay, so let's go to another question here, and let's see. Okay, wait, there's more. Would you extend your life indefinitely if you could? Can you envision a time after many years of life that you'd want to die? Okay, if I could extend my life indefinitely, would I? Absolutely. In fact, I had my dear friend Brett Venat on Sovryn Tech. I think it was actually a Patreon episode where we talked about this, and I had said, he asked about that. He's like, yeah, but do you really want to live forever and everything? I was like, yeah, because what humans will do is, I mean, we do this now. We fill in time. Like, there's so many, talking about innovation, like earlier, Jacob was asking about innovation. I mean, in the 20th century, I mean, innovation was the order of the day, and almost seemingly by the day. And, you think about like the dishwasher, all of these, or even the washing machine, all these different technologies, very great, very practical, very useful technologies. Unfortunately, they're getting connected to the internet, but that's a whole other conversation. But I mean, they're really great stuff. And what's funny is that they really didn't, like, with all these new technologies, with the dishwasher in your house, with all this stuff, do you really feel like you have more time? Most people will say, no, they don't, and so my point being is that if you have the time, you will find ways to fill it in, just like what has happened, where if you develop technologies that literally do save you time, like a dishwasher, washing machine, whatever, you will just fill it in with something else. And so I think humans, if they could live forever, if they could live indefinitely, they would just fill in the time, like they would figure out something, because human desire, which is a good thing, is seemingly limitless. We're unlimited people in a limited universe. And if you end up with unlimited time, well, there's one more aspect where I think our unlimited nature, can really express itself. Could I envision a time, after many, many years that I'd actually want to die? I don't think so. I know a lot of people talk about that. Like, I know, like in the Conan stories, like in the Hyborian Age, there's the people of the North that they do kind of like a willful suicide. And I mean, and it's a popular trope, even like in Babylon 5. Where you have the first ones, and they're tired of existence and all this shit, right? And they move on. I mean, it makes for kind of a romantic notion in fiction, but in reality, like I said, I think people will just end up filling in the time. Then suddenly it'll become practical. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll take a trip to however many hundreds or decades, depending on the technology being used. I'll take a little trip to what is that? Not Alpha Centauri, Proxima B, or yeah, whatever the one is that everybody's excited about now. people will just do that, and they'll rock and roll. Of course, maybe they'll go nuts in space, but that's not from living forever. That's kind of from perhaps the humdrum existence of being on a starship or something. So let's see. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. Is that I really don't see I don't see the time where like that I wouldn't want to live forever, nor do I see the time where I would want to die within that existence. But there's lots of nuance in that. Like, what happens if there is, it's just immortality as long as you don't, get hit by a truck? What happens if somebody you love does die? And do you want to go on? I mean, I don't know. I love Highlander. How about that? In fact, I was kind of half watching some Highlander before I started the show, so that's kind of cool that this came up. The TV show, by the way, the TV show. So. Okay, let's see. One last bit here. Too big a topic for the time left, but we've got to get back to the conversation of intelligence augmentation at some point. Thanks for this optimistic hangout. It's really needed right now. And then someone said, "Too true. True. I'm so glad we didn't touch politics." Yeah, I thought about it, but wanted to go in a more positive direction. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Let's see. And also in the YouTube chat, we've got looking forward to it. We are also exploring it. So and the please soon earlier was in reference to Hyperchronius 2, that they wanted the game soon, and definitely I'm working on that nonstop. A lot of projects, a lot of things that I haven't released yet, that I've been working on for a year, that needs to come out. So hopefully all of that will happen soon. I'm working on a huge project that's not really for me right now, that's been taking up a ton of my time. So, and that'll be over in the next few days. So then maybe I can get back to getting out all the good shit. So, there we go. I think it worked. We'll see. I'm going to release this in the Patreon feed, as well. I'll release the audio, of it. And obviously I'll be keeping a video version of it, as well. If you have the YouTube link, you do have access to it if you want to download it for your own, just great guests, great listeners came on, just like Jay's analysis of, well, that's kind of a pun. Some people might know what I mean, but Jay's analysis of VR, I thought was rock solid. That's great info, kind of boots on the ground stuff. I always love hearing that. Jacob had great questions. That was fantastic. And everybody else involved, just fantastic questions. I really appreciate it. If you're wondering what's behind me, I will tell you that, since well, now the audio portion is kind of done, but if you're wondering what's behind me, you can kind of see the blue screen. Actually, that very blue screen right behind me was used for Hyperchronius. That's actually Stephanie, the lovely and hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy, was standing right in front of that. So anyway, oh, look at this. Woo. This is in the chat. I was just reading verbatim. Woo. 1 a.m. here in Czech Republic. Awesome. International audience. I love it. Boy, Prague, Old Town. One of my favorite places on planet Earth, let me tell you. Anyway, yeah, and it says thanks for everything. Thank you all for attending. So anyway, you are seeing actually the studio. You are seeing the Shure mic that I actually record on most weeks. And it's a funny story about this room that I'm going to save for the next time I'm on the show, or the next time that we do a live hangout like this. And hopefully soon, as long as everything goes according to plan, there's still some equipment we need, that if you go to wishlist.zog.ninja, you'll see some of that there. That's our Amazon wish list. Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. Some people are saying, "Yay, next time." Oh, absolutely. There's this worked pretty well. So I think we'll keep going, and I'll just keep making it better, use a better camera, and I have a better camera, and we'll use all that. But anyway, I'll tell the stories about this next time, and hopefully soon we'll have, about the studio, and then hopefully soon we'll have a, second studio within which, this can be done on a much, grander level. So, in fact, the guy said, "I'm in Prague right now. The best." Yes, it is. I am such a fan. The museums alone. Oh, baby. I got to get back there sometime. So, all right, that's it. That's enough for our February. We'll see when the next one's going to be. I'll have to carve out some time. Maybe we'll be able to do another one in February as well. But thank you so much for everybody participating. Thank you for the phenomenal questions. And if you have any thoughts on what could improve this sort of thing, or what you'd like to see going forward, like the person that emailed me, about fielding questions from the IRC chat room at on Freenode, which is at hashtag Sovnet, let me know, because I am all about it, especially for the patrons. I'm all about making this a better experience for you, and I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, that's it, everybody. Woo! I'll see you on the other side.
You just experienced Sovryn Tech. Go to sovryntech.com, that's SOVRYN tech.com, and connect with us there. Find links from today's show and catch our podcast feed. Sovryn Tech is copy heart. Copying art is an act of love, and love is not subject to law. So please share the show however you like. Welcome to the evolution.